It's yours.
Yeah, I tried to move quick.
It's just because you have the same, wallpaper. Surprisingly.
Next up, Peter's going to show us how to use Storybook for what was the title again? It was we came up with a long title. Architecture of React Native apps for extensible testability using Storybook.
Right? Yeah, and also how to have fun and play with Lego at work. Okay. All right. Okay, can you hear me well? Okay. And you see what I have here? This little car here. It's actually a Lego car. How many of you like Lego? Actually love Lego? Would like to play with Lego at work? Okay. Some of you actually not really. I'm not sure if what you want to play at work. But okay. The Lego guys picked a topic for today. So today I would like to talk about how you can build actually rich applications and have fun, develop features instead of fixing bugs, do firefighting, and also have nightmares at night. And of course, why I'm talking about Lego. At first, also, I would like to thank you for having me here. I really actually like San Diego and actually fits very well to my plan, like digital nomading. So if you would like to talk about this one later, hit me up, or like if you want to know how to work from different country each month, I'm happy to talk about this one. But let's go. Let's go back to the more important part, which is Lego and how you can build also like structure and also the mindset you should have when you actually build that kind of application, scalable application. And also remember, have fun. We need to have fun at work. So also before that, I need to give you kind of like some background of the project which I was working for. So do we have like better overview, like how many Lego blocks we had to actually use in our project? So our client, it's a client in London. He has like 400 couriers around London, and they can pick everything for you and bring it to your home like in under an hour. Also for those guys who don't like to play Lego, they can bring something else. So yeah, it's something like Uber Eats, but instead of food, you can order anything. And pretty much, of course, we have like many customers in this case, right? We have like clients like you, like couriers, employees, internal employees, which have to manage orders. So as you can imagine, like to develop that kind of service is kind of hard, right? Especially you have to have like a lot of small applications, and what's more, we live in mobile era, right? So we have to have these applications for web and mobile. So the final solution was something like that. That many Lego blocks we had to use actually. Putting this into numbers, in actually 9 months, we built 4 web applications, 3 mobile applications, 52 web common components which were shared across those web applications with like 200 variations of different like components, 23 React Native components. We tripled the dev team size, which is actually quite important here. In just 9 months, on a course, create a lot of code and solve a lot of tickets. Which actually, in the end, everything boils down to 2 main things, right? You have to develop fast, new features, and have high quality code, and also with test, that's high quality code, let's say, and of course no bugs, so you can actually move fast. So probably now you're wondering, okay, how we actually can build that kind of apps and how this project worked. So what you need is actually Lego, right? So if you think about Lego, this guy here, my favorite. So Lego has this crazy simple idea that you have those small little blocks, right? So you can detach them, put them together, and pretty much build anything you want, right? You can build, you don't like something, you can just take it off and put something else. And this is really crazy but powerful idea. And you should actually do the same with your applications. And then you will actually have fun. Like really, I had like a lot of fun. So to give you an example, right? Like sometimes you get a ticket, it's a feature, you have to develop this feature, you have to develop some UI, which might look like this tower here. But what you need to remember is that this tower is built from those small little blocks, right? Which are actually our React components, which are just reused in many places. Or maybe like in this case, we have like another tower. But actually also not tower is important here, right? Like we need to remember that we are actually living in a very dynamic world. Like we will have this situation that our CTO or like CEO or like whatever come to us and say, you know, like we don't need actually this feature. Like our users actually don't need this one, like we have to scrape everything. And then this situation looks like this, right? And what do you feel? Like you developed this amazing feature, like the best thing ever, right? And then, yeah, just, you know, maybe next time. But it was good, So, also like, kind of like a side note, like before I was working for SAP, so like big corporate, I was like feeling exactly like on the first part of this picture. And then I said, okay, actually I want to work with startups are great, like they're cutting edge, crazy, nice, you know, products. And actually I feel like now on the second part of this picture, and kind of like a pro tip, like you need to know that working with startup is hard. It's harder than corporates. And the main problem is that you need to start over and over again, right? But actually startups are all about this. Like they don't know what they do. They just build something and then just rebuild this and start over and over again. So if you want to like stay kind of, you know, good, like you don't want to kill your boss or like having drinking problems, you have to like just get used to that. That you need to start over and over again. And what I want to actually show you in this presentation, like how you can actually do this with Lego approach and how it can make your life easier. Going to the next one, who actually saw this screenshot before? Yeah, so probably you've read also an article, React Thinking Way.
Thinking in React.
Yes. So it's actually part of Facebook documentation, so it's actually kind of like, let's say, even basic, so you can say, actually, no, we know that we have to, you know, break down our UI into small components, right? And like in this case, you have the product table, so product table should be built from product category row and product row, right? So it's so simple that I can actually go home because I don't have to cover it. But actually not really, like I've been working with like many devs, like many teams, and looks like we all have different understanding of like the same problems, or like we try to like, you know, build our stuff a little bit different. And it's not our fault, of course, it's not our, right? It's not developer's fault. But to be honest, it's a little bit true there, because sometimes we just don't have like enough information to make the decision how to actually we should structure our components, how we actually should build our UI. Sometimes you just get this one simple ticket and you don't know like what's around it. Like you don't have this helicopter view, right? And sometimes you just don't have information from designers, from business people. Should we actually create nice component for this one, or like they know already that in 2 days they want to do something else? So we don't have like those processes, and also like we don't have tools which allow us to actually create those simple components which actually we can use in many places. And what's more, usually our UI looks something like that. It's like way more complicated than this example, famous example from React. So then also it's harder actually to really think about this one and actually break this into small pieces. So let's make something about this, right? So let's take a look on this small little brick, amazing one by the way, and think how we actually, what's the kind of like final main points about this brick, right? First of all, it's extremely simple, and it's actually extremely simple, right? Single responsibility for red color, and it's super easy to test. Like imagine if you want to have to test this block, right? Super simple. So now we know how the block looks like. The question is how we can produce them. So also think Lego does that, right? Every day. So what they have? They have factory somewhere. They have like some machines building like those small components, and they just produce them. They have QA checking the components, right? And then they sort them into boxes, put them on the shelf, and ship to the clients. So there is no reason actually to reinvent the wheel. We have to do pretty much the same. And how we can do this? Actually, we can use React Storybooks to create this isolated environment, which actually gives us ability to create those simple components in very, very easy way. What's more, now we have also the React Storybook for React Native components. So actually you can create those small components which you can reuse in many places, both in native and web. And what's more, to be honest, I think we developers are like kids, especially if you like play with Lego. And with kids we have this one simple problem, that if you'll give us like too much freedom, we'll do really a mess. And React Storybooks gives you this kind of like environment where actually you kind of have your sandbox, like you just work on simple one component, and if you actually create a mess, it won't spread to your other part of your application. So it's pretty sweet. So a lot of talking theory. I guess you want to see something. Okay, can I go without microphone? Because I have to have, yeah? Over it? If not,
I can hold it.
Maybe Lego, we can use this later. Okay, we can try it. If not, please come and help me. So first thing, right? Like we need Storybook. So Storybook actually it's very easy to install. npm install, like everything. Storybook, that's it. What we will get is in our package.json some additional script to run Storybook because actually it runs separately from our app, so it's actually very important. So like we don't use our crazy Webpack configuration, and that's the good part because like we don't want to have any weird dependencies in our simple components. What else? Here we get like some additional folder for like additional tweaking Storybook configuration. Can you see? Well, yeah. So yeah, simple configuration actually to read all your like files ending .story.js where we actually keep stories of information like how this React component looks like. And here we have like some basic Webpack configuration you can tweak if we need some additional loaders for CSS or whatever. So let's see actually how we can go about this one. And also like one neat trick which actually really worked in our case. So like I mentioned, like we had like a lot of repositories, like different components. And actually when you go with dividing your project into features instead of like types or something else, it's really, really beneficial. So like in this case, you can see this one actually is a simple project. So we have a contact page and all information about all our components about the contact page, you put it here. With 5 minutes?
No, you're fine. I just thought I would hold the microphone for you just so if it is they can hear.
Okay, I can maybe actually try. Okay, so it's really, really actually nice way to handle your big project. So I imagine like we have like 52 components. So this tree is really, really long. So then if you want to find something like button, it's actually super easy. And also like we name our files just button, not index. So you can easily go to whatever you want to actually change, want to change or something. So let's talk about the simple component. So in this case, we actually want to create simple button, right? We actually want to pass some children to this button. We have like on click. We have some styles, and that's our button, right? So this is how it looks like, and in Storybook. So as you can see actually on the left side, this is your all components, which you can filter even and see all the components, like very basic components. So in this case, it's button, and this is how it looks like. So actually, we have deployed the version for it for our developers and also for our designers. So they can actually see what kind of components we have already. So whenever they create something new, they actually reuse those components and put together. So then actually we developers don't have to like create them again and again, which is kind of boring, right? Like we want to create super complicated UI components and develop business logic, play with Redux or whatever is that. So in this case, like we don't have to reinvent the wheel again. We have these components and just like drag and drop. So in this case, yeah, we have this button. You can see how it looks like. What's more, we can define different stories for this button. So actually, those are super simple. But you can imagine if we have like loading button. So instead of text, you should have like indicator here. So then you create a story for this button with loading indicator. So maybe before going to stories, let's see how we test this button components, right? So also testing is super simple. What we actually pass into here is like children. So we want to make sure that we are actually rendering children. The on-click event is fine. We merge styles and we pass other attributes for HTML, right? So this is how we just test this this component. It's very easy, and actually you can see some beneficial side when we actually create like another button, kind of like using this one. So yeah, simple component, simple testing. Going to our stories. This is where actually we define our stories. So we just kind of like import stories of Storybook, and then say, okay, some additional information here. And this is actually the most simple story. So we actually add those stories into our list. And you can define like different colors or like different also like ways how you want to display them, because maybe it's important. Maybe you have like primary buttons, maybe you have like not primary buttons or like loading buttons and so on. But the also interesting part here is that the Storybook has now some additional add-ons which you can actually install into your application. So like in this case, we have this. Sure. So this is some add-on which will actually give you an overview. So it's like something like documentation for your component. So you can see here that, okay, we have button here. This is like some description how we use this one, because actually some components might be super tricky. So like in our case, we have like some crazy maps or like tables and then so on and so on, or like even all flows. And also how we actually use this component here. So this is really nice way actually how to document this. And then even for developers, if they want to reuse this, they just copy paste and just like tweak whatever you want, and pretty much you're done. Also the prop types, information about prop types here, kind of basic, but works. What's more, you can install knobs here, which will allow you actually to tweak your components as you go. So this is actually very beneficial for our designers or like whoever wants to have like new invention, right? So they don't have to go to us, hey Peter, can you like modify this? Say, yeah, we have Storybook. Just go here. You probably know CSS. You can actually add here and tweak it as you want, right? So it's very useful, and also like for QA, like adding some edge cases and testing them here. You can all try all those different edge cases. So there are much more add-ons. So actually, as you host, actually you can run it like for different devices in Storybook. Also like add some tests into Storybook, so that you can see here if the tests are passing or what is failing, some additional notes. So for example, if business want to actually add some notes, actually we would like to have this idea that, maybe we want to tweak this. they can actually add this information right here. Information, like some options, some backgrounds, and way more. So it's actually a very nice way to interact with those simple components. And as you can see, actually change your flow for development. So for your designers, QAing, and so on. So, okay, I forgot about one. Let's talk about more complicated examples. So for example, here we have animated button, which is just hover state. So in this case, we want to create a separate component for that, right? And so this is kind of very specific one. So instead of modifying and add customization into the button, we just say, okay, import the button, have all the features which the button has, and just add this on mouse enter event and just change state to hover to true or to false, and we are done, right? And actually, when we want to test this, we don't have to bother about if the button works when you click it, because it's already tested in the core, right? So actually, what we want to test here is the on mouse over, and actually if you are passing children and other attributes in a correct way. So as you can see, whenever you build something on top, you actually use the benefit that actually something is already very well tested, right? And also this is kind of interesting. There's interesting effect how actually you also want to test, because those core elements you really want to test very bad, very good. You want to have all the edge cases. But then our UI is kind of okay, we have base things. We know the button will work anyway, so then you don't have to bother about it so much. If you're kind of thinking, okay, what other components you can have even animations. So in this example, if you want to slide something down, you just create this higher order component, which will do the animation, and you put content inside. So as you can see, you can really create the small components which will do animation or do something else. Maybe in this example, it's the window size change. So all the window size change is handling here inside. So you're just passing this information about the window size to your children via props, and children doesn't have to have any logic here, right? So, and then you can easily test in this in Storybook and play with this. Yeah. Okay. So I have 8 minutes, so try to wrap up. We're back. So let's recap this again, because this one is actually very, very important, right? So we have those simple, actually super simple, super simple dead component, not dead, but deadly simple components, which are easy to test, have single responsibility, and actually the core is more the clarity. This is actually the way you want to go. Going further, when you think about what actually you can do right straight away, for tomorrow when you go to your work and talk with a colleague about this presentation today about Lego, you can actually start thinking how your whole workflow development looks like, and how you actually develop feature, how is the process, how you actually create new tickets, how you work with your designers, with QA, and how you release your components, and maybe put some additional some changes, so actually you don't have to think about this. Actually, they can be already baked into your components and baked into your tickets. And also the other thing is break down your problems. And I think it's super good idea. Any kind of problems, even your personal problems, it's really helpful, And sometimes just take one step back, take look on the whole problem, see what we have here, and then try to break it down into small elements. And make your components super simple, usually even without state. Like, usually you don't need state in your component. Like, I'm a fan of Redux, actually we have all of business logic in Redux, so when you have like state, usually it's like for UI specific, right? So like maybe color or like something like that. Okay, so before we'll go to questions actually, I want to take small exercise for 1 minute with you, and let's make a deal. Like whenever I will say stop.js, actually you will stop working the exercise, like doing the exercise, and then we'll continue. So what I want to do, what I want to ask you is to talk with your neighbor about the Lego approach, the storybooks, and those ideas, how we can actually use them, or maybe you're using something from this already, and then about 1 minute we'll have like Q&A or maybe 30 seconds. Okay? So let's go. Turn to your partner. Please discuss this. Okay, stop.js. Yeah, stop.js is the magic same word. Okay, so what questions do you have for me? Okay, yes, please.
I guess I'm just curious with how do you do component discovery? So, this is my first time hearing Storybook, by the way. It looks amazing. But so I started thinking like, okay, like if I have a team and I have 200 components, and I have my yellow button, my green button, my red button, how do I know like I've built a yellow button? Are you maintaining all your components in a single mono repository? What happens if you commit your components as individual, like maintain as individual repos and fire into your like main application? How would Storybook handle that? Of you go, hey, do we have a yellow button yet? Do a search, find it, or cannot build it?
Yeah. Okay. Everyone heard question? Like how to make a discovery, right? So I think actually we have like very good 2 questions here. So first of all, like how actually do we have like some separate repository? So in our case, yes, we do. So actually we have like separate repository just for those common components, and then we use them in other applications, right? So then we require them, we actually try to use submodules, really bad, let's go this way. NPM, that's actually really nice. So we have like private NPM, we just publish whenever we have like some new features or like any bugs, like normal way. And this is the first one, right?
Yeah, so are you saying you're doing the discovery inside the private NPM registry?
So this is how we actually have like structure, right? So then answering the next part of the question, so the discovery, like the storybooks, how the storybooks discover, you have this element, right? So you have to create this story, right? Like the story.js, and then you put you import elements, and you can write the story. So we say, okay, this is the story for button which is yellow, right? And this is the first story. If you want to write story for button which is red, then you write another story, and then you can see in this tree that you have those different options, right? And by searching, it's like, okay, I want to see all the buttons. So you say, okay, show me all the buttons, and then you can see what kind of versions of the buttons you have, right?
So is the storybook that's consuming these stories, is that like a separate repository that's like a kitchen sink, or is that something that lives alongside your main application?
So in our case, because we have a separate repository, so it's already separate, yeah. But we have like them next to, like, in terms of files, they are like next to the React component. So we have like button.js, button styles, and also button.stories. So we have everything in one folder, and this is actually a really nice way because we don't have to jump between folders. You can see, already in one place what you have for this file. Very cool. Cool. Okay.
All right.
One more.
One more question.
3 questions. Good.
Yeah, it's doubling down. So I'm curious, so you showed the testing, and I was looking at the documentation, and it seems like there's like some, where you have like the testing where it shows actually like test output per like component of the story.
Yeah.
And that seemed like it was very specific testing kind of harnesses that have been built to work with that. Can you run other harnesses, like say like I want to run like AVA tests? Can you run those inside of the Storybook?
So actually, just recently I discovered there's actually a lot of information about testing using storybooks, and also like they talk about testing in terms of like snapshots. So this React, they have this option that you can take a snapshot, and whenever something changes, you can actually take another snapshot and compare. Okay, something changed. Right? So your test is not passing. So actually, there's actually a lot of information about testing, structural testing, UI testing. So I will say, if you would like to dive deep, go there, and there's like a lot of information. Testing is kind of like how far you want to go with your test. This is very tricky question, right? So like in this case, I would say you want to go very deep with testing the main components. In our case, actually, we don't bother so much with like styles, rather more functionality, right? Okay. So actually, thank you very much for your question. And before I will finish, I need to tell you something super important. Actually. So when I worked for SAP, really bad times. I had like a lot of pain, right? Because the technology is like super old, and whenever you want to create some UI, it's like horrible. Like it's not user friendly and so on. So that's why I moved to startups. And at the beginning it was cool, because of course like when you change from SAP to something else, it's always cool. But then I got like more pressure, to develop fast, to actually develop more features and just be fast, right? So then my quality of my code just went out because I didn't have time for it, right? The test, maybe sometimes. And because of that, I get to the point actually when I was doing more firefighting than actually developing new features, right? Because the code quality was kind of bad, and whenever you change something, something else is popping up. So I was a little bit frustrated, and I was saying, okay, like I'm a developer, like I want to build cool stuff, right? I want to work for a startup, or we want to like change the world. So actually implementing this approach, like this Lego approach, really helped. So now actually, really instead of firefighting, I have already those components created, and then actually I can focus on business logic, creating very complex UI, and problem solving, right? And that's the reason I actually really want to point this out here, that actually I really now have fun. So, question to you guys: would you like to have fun? Thank you much.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter. That was a great presentation. Mike has a final word he'd like to say to everyone, and then I will have some giveaways.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that if you are still interested in the second